So we just got a pretty massive reveal that Dune Awakening is going to have rentable private servers available on launch of June 5th. So they will be available at the early access launch on June 5th or on June 10th if you're just getting the base version of the game. But the rentable servers in Dune Awakening are going to work a lot differently than they've worked in previous survival games, especially if you're used to something like Ark Survival Evolved, Conan Exiles, or Rust. These are going to be very different. So because of how Dune Awakening is set up and how it has this really unique map aspect where you start in Haga Basin, then you can go to the two social hubs, then you can also go to the massive deep desert, they can't really allow you to do everything you would normally be doing with private servers in other server-based survival games. So if you're looking to play on private servers or rent a private server in Dune Awakening, this is how it's going to work. When you rent one of these servers, you're going to be renting your own Haga Basin. So you're going to have access to the entirety of the Haga Basin, just like on the official servers, and you have a handful of different options of how you can change these. The three ones they showcased were security zones. You can essentially disable all of these security zones, meaning Haga Basin will be fully PvP enabled, or you can just choose to leave it how it is unofficial, where there are smaller PvP areas and everywhere else is PvE. So if you want to, you can rent one of these servers and have fully PvP enabled Haga Basin servers so you can PvP everywhere. You can disable taxation on your server, which is a part of essentially the building system where when you build bases, you have to pay tax on it every once in a while. You can also disable sandstorms. And then you'll obviously be able to name your server and set passwords to it so you can have whoever you want to join it. But those are pretty much the only options you're going to be having when you rent one of these Haga Basin servers. Now, the really interesting part is that these rentable private servers of Haga Basin are going to still be on an overarching world. So presumably when you rent one of these servers, you're going to choose a specific world for that rented server to be on. And how that's going to work is a bunch of different rented Haga Basins are all going to be on the same server, but all of those rented Haga Basins are still going to share Harko Village and Arakeen, the two social hubs, and the deep desert. But the only player-controlled rented servers are going to be Haga Basin. So Harko Village, Arakeen, and the Deep Desert are going to work in the exact same ways that they work on the official servers. So you're really only renting a Haga Basin that you then kind of control that Haga Basin, but it's still connected to all of these other elements like it would be on an official server. Now, this is also one of the reasons that they're not giving you a bunch of server rules. So you're not going to be able to like change the gathering rates or change a bunch of other rules in your Haga Basin because you're still connected to these other elements, meaning you can't actually change a lot of things you could in other survival games. Like other survival games, you would choose a private server and it could have like 10 times gathering. You can't do anything like that in the rentable servers of Dune Awakening. And there will be 3 different server providers on launch. You have G-Portal, Nitrado, and X-Realm. So you'll have to go to any of those sites to be able to rent any of these servers. And it is a bit weird how this is working. You're renting this Haga Basin from like a third-party site, and then that's still connected to these different elements that are officially hosted by Funcom. So this is definitely a really weird system. But they explain in this post that to actually keep Dune Awakening being Dune Awakening, they kind of have to do this because they can't really fully allow you to rent like Arakeen and Harko Village and a Haga Basin and a Deep Desert because there's just so many actual servers connected to all of that you'd have to rent like a dozen plus different servers to have that as a whole thing. And there might be some issues with actually hosting all of that server tech on one of these third-party sites. But if you're somebody that wants to control that Haga Basin experience, whether you want it full PvP or whether you want it more official like, but you want to maybe have it be like a more PvE centric place where just you and your friends can hop onto, or if you want to rent like a Haga Basin, have it be PvE focused, but have it be like an RP focused Haga Basin where you can control everybody who's playing on it. So if they're not RPing, you can kick them off that. You will definitely be able to do that. So there's definitely some pretty big uses for this, but I am very curious on how many people are actually going to be wanting to to rent these Haga Basin servers. And based upon being able to have, let's say, 40 people on them, I'm not sure if these third-party sites will be able to increase the player cap, but let's say you can still only have 40 people on these. I would say they're probably going to be like $15 to rent one of these servers per month. So I don't think it's going to be super expensive. So I do think there is going to be a handful of uses for these private servers. But that's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.